All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour one of Jon and Jim. It's an abbreviated Jon and Jim. We have the NFL draft for you at 5 p.m. And then after the first, let's say, 15 picks or so, you'll get Lakers Nuggets game 3 at 7 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. There is a ton to react to.
What the hell just happened?
Just 1 second. Let me set this up. Miles Byrd, San Diego State rising sophomore, entering his junior year, will join us at 3:30. We'll ask him for his thoughts on Lamont Butler being in the transfer portal. We'll get into that as well. And then Mark Zeigler will join us at 4 p.m. And in between those conversations, we will react to what has happened and transpired at Coors Field. I don't think there's ever been a game like this in Denver.
So
where one team had a lead and then the other team came all the way back. It was 9-4 in the 8th inning, and the Rockies have scored 6 times in the bottom of the 8th inning to take a 10-9 lead.
I was fully getting ready, and my mindset is still there. I like taking 3 or 4 in Colorado, Jerkson Profar, Hassan Kim. You get some good pitching out of the bullpen. De Los Santos looked great. Yuki Matsui looked really good. And then I look up and it's 10-9. And what the hell, John?
Is this the first time we can turn to Mike Shildt and say, did you get cute with your bullpen? And I'm not 100% certain. We've been in the studio. We don't have the sound on. But Johnny Brito was spectacular. Delo was spectacular. Matsui was effective. And then this thing completely unraveled. Wandy Peralta, third of an inning, 4 runs. Stephen Kolek is on the mound for whatever reason. It's now 10-9 Rockies. So I don't know necessarily how this all transpired, other than, to your point, I mean, you can never really rest on laurels in Denver, but this bad Rockies team, you're 6 outs away. You got a 5-run lead. This is the last thing I expected as well. I figured they'd won the series, and right now they're going to need a rally in the 9th to potentially get this game into extras or win this series.
I have a confession to make.
Did you tweet this game's over or something?
So you put on social media, who do we blame for this?
And I put you.
No, you said except Jim Russell, right?
Like other than you.
Yeah. No, this one's on me today.
Why?
I want you to look at the original title of our YouTube video today.
You idiot. What'd you say? Padres win series? Where do I see it?
This is my fault.
Is it up there right now?
It's not up there right now.
You took it down?
It's still up there.
Oh, it says post-game reaction. But what did it say? Post-game reaction to the Padres win over the Rockies?
It says post-game reaction to the Padres taking 3 of 4 from the Rockies.
Dude. Oh, this is completely on you.
This is my fault.
You violated the unwritten rule of don't do that.
You blew it! This is my fault.
This is completely your fault. Do you have a photo of that? Brian, could you take a photo of that?
I changed it. I changed it though.
But I don't care. I want to see the photo. I want to see the photo. So it's not
right
over.
Here. It's on our YouTube stream. Like in our backstage area. It should be there, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
is that what you're showing me, Brent?
Yeah. Oh, crap. Oh, I'm so stupid.
Well, it's not over, but we have been talking for the last 4 days about win this series. And it felt good after game 1. It felt good halfway through game 2. They lost that game. It felt good after last night. It felt good for most of today. You have no Manny Machado. You have no Jackson Merrill, who's sidelined today. And you scored 9 runs. And against this Rockies team, that should be enough. And with your bullpen, this Padres bullpen, which has been very effective, all of a sudden they've blown a large lead in Denver. So we'll react to it. The game hasn't gone final. When it does, we'll hear from Mike Shildt. We'll see if the Padres can come from behind to win or if the Rockies do salvage a split of this series. Let's get to Lamont Butler because Miles Byrd's going to join us coming up at 3:30. You talked about it briefly with Darren in the Fusion. I agree with your sentiments completely. Like I said with Micah Parrish, I think it's a little bit even different with Lamont Butler. These players should be celebrated for their accomplishments, and they shouldn't be vilified for decisions that most people would also make. This is now their rights. Entering the transfer portal is not the worst thing you can do as a student athlete. There are 2,000 Division I players in the portal. 2,000. Mm-hmm. There's only 300 teams. That's an average of 6+ players per team. Lamont Butler will be celebrated as one of the great athletes in the history of the city of San Diego. Had the most recognizable moment in the history of San Diego State athletics. He's got a degree from San Diego State. He spent 4 years here. There's been adversity, highs and lows, personal, off the court, on the court. The Arkansas game in Maui, the winning shot in New Mexico, the FAU buzzer beater. So he's in the transfer portal. Okay, such is life. Brian Dutcher's addressed it. It's a part of the sport. It's not just impacting San Diego State. I wish him the absolute best. With that being said, if I'm a fan, I understand. You can have opinions and you can be frustrated, and it might hurt because he's such a valuable part of your viewing experience and your fandom over the last 4 years. But this is normal. It is the new normal. And him making a decision like this to enter the transfer portal is absolutely his right. And I have absolutely no issue with it, if I'm going to be honest. And I understand frustration from a fan perspective, but this is where we are with college athletics.
If you are somebody out there that is upset about this, seriously, like, check yourself. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I know sports is emotional. I know that people overreact to a lot of things. I'm raising my hand.
Sure, absolutely.
I get that.
And I don't think that's that's okay.
It's totally fine.
That's what makes sports great.
That's totally fine. But for everything that Lamont Butler accomplished here at San Diego State, if you are not sitting there giving him a standing ovation, and giving a standing ovation, frankly, for every single one of these players the last couple of years for what they have accomplished here at San Diego State, Micah Parrish, Darion Trammell, Jaden Ledee, and Lamont Butler, right? And then
from this past
team, and then you got AG,
Rope,
Mensa,
Seiko, Bradley,
Johnson, Keyshawn.
There you go. There's your 9-man rotation.
So if you are not giving a standing ovation for what these guys accomplished, and you're sitting there and you're upset about things, and you're putting, I don't know, comments on Lamont's Instagram page or under his social media saying like, how could you do this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, check yourself. You're an idiot. I'm sorry. That's plain and simple. And that's how I feel. If you are one of those people out there, your opinion is stupid and you're a moron.
I'm not going to go that far.
I will.
I respect your opinion on it. I really do. I do. I'm not going to go that far because I do understand fandom, and I do understand being upset because they feel like family. When, the Fernando Tatis Jr. and the way we felt when he was like suspended, because you're like, this is such an instrumental piece to what we do each and every day as Padres fans. And if you're an Aztec fan, Lamont Butler signifies all that is right over the last 4 years. He's been in the program. He's grown in it. He's overcome obstacles. He's had the biggest moment, arguably, in school history, one of the biggest moments in the history of San Diego sports. But guys, I mean, hasn't he given us as much as everyone else has been able to provide to him? Like, he's given everything for San Diego State. He came back after the shot. His father was quoted last year saying, we had crazy offers, but he wanted to get a degree from San Diego State. He wants to come back. 4 years, Jim's a lot of years. If it wasn't for COVID, he would be gone anyway because you can't play beyond 4 years. State degree. Micah Parrish, by the way, will graduate with a San Diego State degree. This isn't hitting San Diego State any harder than anywhere else. Duke has 7 players in the portal. Duke.
Everybody has players in the portal.
Exactly. So this is new, and it is normal, and we need to come to accept it. And wherever Lamont Butler lands, I wish him the absolute best.
Yeah.
And by the way, on the other side of it, San Diego State and Brian Dutcher, I think you trust the staff, don't you? They figured this stuff out pretty well.
Yeah, I trust them.
So both sides should be fine.
They should be. And you got to move forward. This is the way of college sports. There's not, sign contracts and 10-year deals, this is the way of college athletics all the time. How many Kentucky teams are all one and doneers? Duke's, a lot of one and doneers. This is how it is in college sports. You should be thankful and lucky that these players have remained at San Diego State for this long and have accomplished as much as they have accomplished and how much winning they've done here. It's something that should be celebrated. It's something that will be celebrated, and nothing but the best for Lamont, nothing but the best for Micah, 2 guys that have entered the transfer portal. Micah's going to Ohio State. So I just think that any opinion out there other than, praise for Lamont Butler is completely short-sighted, and it's coming from a place of just like fandom anger. And it should not be the opinion that people have.
I think I might have said earlier in the month, whenever Micah Parrish officially announced his intent to transfer, it was actually a week ago. It was on Saturday. I said, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Who would ever turn away what has transpired with San Diego State basketball if they
Nobody.
knew on the other side, well, those players wouldn't be there for forever? Nothing lasts forever. Trevor Hoffman finished his career where? Milwaukee. There's only so many Tony Gwynn type careers, and that's even harder now in college. I'm telling you, Jim, and you know it. The days of 5 years in one spot in college, let alone 4 years, let alone 3 years, let alone 2 years, they're going to be numbered. 4 great years, memorable moments, 4 NCAA tournaments for Lamont Butler, a trip to a national championship game, multiple Sweet 16s, an amazing family, an amazing person. How many times have we interacted with him?
A lot. We've had him in studio a bunch of
We've
times.
been with him in Las Vegas for media days.
Yeah.
We've had him on phone interviews. We've seen him before and after games.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my lasting memories, we can get back to this Padres-Rockies game, which is about to go final. Rockies lead 10-9, 2 outs, top of the 9th inning for the Padres, no one on. One of my lasting memories, Brent will remember this, even though Brent doesn't go to Aztec games because of his job, other than one exhibition game one time. After senior night this year, the only game the Aztecs lost, I did not expect to be joined by a student athlete after the game. I wasn't. I was doing the post game, and all of a sudden, who walks up? Their only loss of the year, crushing loss. Max Rice of Boise heaves in a 3 from 45 feet away in overtime. That basically was the difference. Who comes over to thank the fans, to talk about his 4-year experience, to describe his senior night? Lamont Butler. Because it's who he is. Mm-hmm. And he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and he's got good perspective. And he wants to win as much as anyone. And he's taken this team to a national championship game. But he also understands that losing is a part of it too. And there's a lot more than just, senior night. And and he just wanted to thank basically Aztec fans for their support. So I'm going to remember him for everything he did on the court, but also just the type of person that he was as an Aztec. And by the way, we're going to see him a zillion times from now until eternity in San Diego.
Yeah, well, I just go back to what else do you want to see him accomplish here
right,
in San Diego?
Right, exactly.
You want him to help lead this team to another NCAA appearance? What is that? I mean, that'd be great and awesome.
Yep.
But with him here, his legacy is cemented. It is set forever. He has the most iconic shot and the most iconic moment in the school program's history. No questions asked. The only thing that will top that is if this team wins a national championship.
Sure.
Or has another Final Four game where they hit a buzzer beater.
Which is a 1 in a 10,000.
Maybe more than that.
Yeah.
So unless that happens, nothing's topping what Lamont Butler accomplished here at San Diego State. And it wasn't just a one-off where he was like a random bench player that hit this random shot. He was a starter for how many years here, John? 3 years? He
played as a freshman, too.
He won Defensive Player of the Year. How many years for this team?
Top 1% defensive player in the country.
How many wins was he a part of this season?
A zillion.
Bunch. So his legacy is set. Congratulations to Lamont. Everything that he did here should be celebrated. And that, to me, is end of discussion, period.
I agree with you. This should more be about, are you going to eventually retire his number one day at Viejas Arena than anything else? And people have emotions, and we will move on, and he will be celebrated in the days, weeks, months, years ahead. The Padres have suffered their first absurd loss of the year, that improbable, where did that come from? They've had a couple of really out of thin air wins. They've had a few of them coming back from 4-5 down, even an 8-run comeback win earlier this year. They had a 9-4 eighth inning lead against arguably the worst team in the National League, or one of them. I know it's Coors Field. They had their 8-team bullpen available, and they blew it all up.
Worst loss of the year.
6 runs in the 8th. Rockies shocked the Padres and win 10-9. The Padres come home at 500, only able to split the series and spot on. The worst loss of the year for the Padres, who now have a very challenging month-long schedule coming up beginning tomorrow night against the Phillies at home. But certainly we'll look at it this way, Jim. A wasted opportunity this week in Denver to win a series against a bad team. That's what just happened. They wasted an opportunity right in front of our eyes.
That happened very fast. Very fast.
Did.
We got in here, we sat down,
minutes.
And we're getting ready for the show, having a fusion with Darren. And all of a sudden you look up and it's tie game.
It was a 3-run homer.
3-run homer. It's 9-7.
Boom,
boom, boom, boom. And now they're down 10-9. And you're right. I think it goes directly to Mike Shilt's bullpen usage in this game in particular.
It's going to have to be.
It has to be. I mean, there's no other way around it. When you have Yuki Mats, De Los Santos pitched great. 4 batters, 4 strikeouts. Fantastic.
Oh, he was unbelievable.
Matsui came in.
He started well,
and a couple runners got on, and then he went to Wandy Peralta. Now, here's what I would say about Mike Shilt's bullpen usage today.
Okay.
What would you have wanted him to do instead?
My only question with the benefit of hindsight is, do you stick with a De Los Santos? Do you stick with a Matsui?
De Los Santos, he threw 14 pitches.
Okay, there's a perfect example right there. He can get another batter. Easy.
Matsui threw 20.
He can get another batter. He can go to 30 pitches as a reliever.
Peralta threw 23.
And Peralta was awful.
He was not good.
So, again, it'll happen. Good pitchers have bad games. Good relievers don't always pitch effectively. So, and it's not unprecedented cores of all places. We understand that. But 9-4 in the 8th inning against this lineup, I mean, you have to win that game. That thing should be to bed. 9-4 against this lineup with your bullpen as good as it's been. This should not happen. If it was 9-8, Jim, I would tell you it can happen. It scores field. If it was 9-7, I would tell you it can happen. 9-4, you have to find a way to manage through that game and win.
And now, just in a matter of like 20 minutes, it goes from you took care of your business, took 3 or 4 from the Rockies, did exactly what you needed to do, to that was the worst loss of the year, and how disappointing of a feeling it is to come home splitting with the worst teams in the National League. And now you start your gauntlet stretch here for the next, 3-4 weeks?
It's a complete gauntlet. You're exactly right. Now, they've been fine against good teams, but they're playing good teams. Like this 6-game homestand is against the Phillies and the Reds. I mean, we went through it yesterday. There's not a lot of softness in the schedule until Jim gets married, which is in a month.
Sure.
So you got a month.
Well, they play the Yankees on my wedding day.
Right. That's not easy. But that's what I'm saying. For the next month, even through Jim's wedding, which everyone's talking about.
Like that can't. I get it's a Coors Field game, but that can't happen versus this bad of a Rockies team. I'm sorry, that just can't happen. If you want to blame Mike Shildt today, go ahead and blame Mike Shildt. But again, I ask you,
it might just be good relievers having bad games, but really, it's only one. Peralta was on the mound when all 6 runs scored because Matsui left the game. It was 9-4.
So did he have too slow of a hook?
Well, where was he turning? He eventually went to Stephen Kolek. He had used his A team. Now, you go to Suarez earlier. You go to Suarez in the 8th inning. How many outs were there? You're asking a lot of Robert Suarez if you're going to go to him for a 5-out save in Denver today, are you not?
You are.
So once it's 9-7, after the Peralta home run, by the way, he's got to face 3 batters. So you can't then go to Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
At some points, you go to Suarez when it's 9-7 or 9-8 with 1 or 2 outs in the 8th inning. You could argue it. Absolutely.
You could argue it for sure. But also the thinking is you don't have an off day for a long time here.
Yeah, it's now coming up after the Red Series, right? 6 days away?
At least another week, yeah.
Yeah, I think 6 more games.
With that in mind, you use Suarez for multiple outs here, which they have done this year. Probably lose him for tomorrow. Not probably, you do. Yeah, you could put this on Mike Shildt, and maybe you could say that he took out De Los Santos too soon when he was like rolling. I mean, he was dominant today, and Matsui was fine, but that was kind of like the domino effect of everything kind of just collapsing there for the Padres in that 8th inning. And the offense did its job today. Scored 9 runs. What do you expect? They didn't have Merrill in the lineup, and they didn't have Manny in the lineup. And you get 2 home runs from Profar and Ha-Seong Kim. I was ready to talk about how great of a signing. We can still talk about it because it still stands true. How great of a signing Jurickson Profar has been for $1 million.
This has nothing to do with the offense and everything to do with
the bullpen.
Like if you were reconstructing that inning, and if you were Mike Shildt and AJ Preller's office, how would you reconstruct it? Where did this go wrong? And it had to go wrong somewhere. It's not. When I say tip of the cap, it's when Robert Suarez is pitching with a 2-run lead and he blows it. That's tip of the cap. This can't solely be just, it happens. It's beyond that, how this transpired here today. We have about 60 seconds. Let's go to the phones before Miles Byrd joins us from San Diego State. Vito, thanks for calling in. You're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm up in the Sacramento area. I'm the only Padre fan that I know, so I can't vent to my friends or my wife. They don't care. So I call you guys.
Thank you.
But I truly think that with this team, this is the best that we're going to see is a 500 team. And I think, at risk of beating a dead horse, this all goes back to AJ Preller. I think 2022 is an outlier. I think the best we're going to see from this team is 500. I hope I'm wrong, but what's the payroll about? Like 150 million, somewhere around there.
Yep.
And we had the guys that we have in the lineup right now. And yeah, Profar's been a good signing, but without Manny, without Merrill, it looked like a 2013 level Padres lineup to me. And that's really not adequate for the amount of money that they're paying this roster. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate you, Vito. I appreciate you calling in. We'll react to it coming up later this hour. Miles Byrd will join us on the other side. A lot of movement on the Mesa. We'll get into it with the sophomore guard for San Diego State. He will join us next, plus continued post-game reaction. The Padres with an inexplicable loss in Denver. It's Jon and Jim. All right, Miles Byrd, San Diego State sophomore guard heading into his junior year. He'll join us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Dell Technologies. Padres had a 9-4 lead in the 8th inning today. They ended up losing to the Rockies 10-9, probably the worst loss of the Padres season. They'll return home tomorrow for a 6-game homestand, starting with the Phillies. Lamont Butler announced on his Instagram page yesterday he is entering the transfer portal with the option to return to San Diego State. And the NFL draft is tonight, 5 p.m. You can listen to draft coverage right here on San Diego Sports 760. Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
All right, stay connected with San Diego Sports 760. No matter where you are, whether you're stepping out of your car or settling in at home, just command your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or use the free iHeartRadio app for seamless listening. It's like having your favorite station right in your pocket. It is our pleasure right now to catch up with Miles Byrd, coming off a terrific sophomore year on the Mesa, getting ready for next fall and his junior year. Back with us, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So, Miles, we appreciate your time. And first of all, thanks for hopping on and doing it today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, Jon Jim.
So let's start with obviously everything that San Diego State fans are talking about, which is the transfer portal. And obviously we learned within the last 24 hours that one of your teammates for the last 2 years, Lamont Butler, is in the portal. So I'll ask it this way. What has it been like for you to have the opportunity to play alongside Lamont the last 2 seasons?
I mean, I'm definitely grateful for my time with Mont. Mont will forever be one of my best friends. You know, he taught me so much over the past 2 years, not only on the court, but off the court. You know, grateful for all the time that I spent with him. And I'm always going to root for him no matter where he's at, whether he's in the San Diego State jersey, whether he's in the NBA jersey, you know, that's forever going to be one of my brothers.
And, you know, with Lamont leaving, what kind of opportunities does this create for guys like you to step up and be put in a more prominent role now coming up next season?
I mean, yeah, of course, Mont being one of our go-to guys, it definitely is a big void. So guys like me and BJ Davis and Reese Waters, Nick's going to come here in a month or two. And, you know, our guard group's got to step up. We're losing one of the, if not the best defender in the country. So we're all going to have to take a bigger load. We're all going to have to get in the gym and, you know, work together to deal with what we're missing.
Miles Byrd with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. You mentioned Nick Boyd, and it's an amazing story. I mean, the way college athletics works, who would have ever thought that night in Houston, Boyd on the floor, right, against San Diego State. Now, a year later, you fast forward, he's joining you guys on the Mesa. How much are you looking forward to playing with him, and how much do you know about his game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I was one of the people that was part of his hosting of his recruitment.
Right.
So I spent some time with him in San Diego. It's funny, me, him, and Mont actually went to an escape room in San Diego. So, you know, I spent some time with him. I learned about him as a person, not just as a player. I think he's a really cool dude. I'm excited to be his teammate. But, you know, on the basketball court, I can remember the first half of our game against FAU. He was killing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously excited to see him shoot the ball here in San Diego. Excited to play with him. Excited to see how he is on the court as a teammate.
You guys went to an escape room? What escape room did you guys go to?
We went somewhere in downtown. It was like I don't even know what the spot's called, but I mean, we got out in 10 minutes. So I mean, that's
10 minutes. That's good.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is a good sign. Escape rooms, they can be difficult at times, but glad you guys got through that.
I would still be there.
He
probably
would still be there.
for weeks.
John would definitely need a lot of assistance to get out of that one. For you, Miles, you know, stepping up into a bigger role this upcoming season, this offseason is a big one for you. What are the offseason goals like for you?
I mean, same as last year. I mean, just be in the gym. I'm definitely going to stay out in San Diego all summer just because I know how big of a summer this is for me and how big of a leap I want to take next year. I know it's just best for me to stay around this setting and stay in the gym. I'm trying to put on weight as I was last year. I mean, I put on 10 pounds last offseason, trying to do the same. But, I mean, just maintain strength, stay in shape, and ultimately get my shot to where I could be a 40% three-point shooter. I think I helped the team out a lot.
Well, I go back to, that second-round game against Yale, which was such an incredible night. I mean, for yourself and your teammates and the way you played, and I want to say you were 3 for 3 or 4 for 4, whatever it was, from beyond the arc against Yale. Jim just asked you about, like, how are you going to, what's the work that's necessary in the offseason? You just mentioned, hey, you want to shoot the 3-ball better. What else do you want to see out of the future version of yourself? Like, if you could snap your fingers and look back at your junior year, what do you hope to be able to say about yourself over the next 12 months?
I mean, I have big goals in mind. I mean, I obviously want to be an NBA player in the future. I think something that will help with that is being an all defensive guy, maybe even defensive player of the year. I mean, I think I'm capable of doing something like that, being a 6'6", 6'7" long guard that could guard multiple positions. Definitely tighten up my ball handling. I think with Mont, who's been our starting point guard the past 3 years here at SDSU, with him leaving, I think that also gives more time for the ball to be in my hands. So definitely tighten up my ball handling skills and decision making. But yeah, I think I'm a guard that can make plays for other people and can also make plays on the defensive end. And I think with that, I mean, I'm trying to be an all Mountain West guy next year.
Love to hear that. Miles, with you and Elijah being the only 3-year guys returning next season, if you guys return, for you, do you feel like you're ready to step into that leadership role? Is that something that you want to do? Do you want to be like one of the main leaders on this team? And how do you view yourself going forward here with you and Elijah in the program next season?
I mean, yeah, I think that was really the difference between the national championship team and the Sweet 16 team. We were such a player-driven team. My first year here was guys like AG and Keshad and Adam Seiko. Just guys like that being able to lead the team. Last year we had that too, but I think there was times where we kind of just looked at each other. I mean, we're such a tight-knit group. We're such a tight-knit group off the court, and there's sometimes on the court where, we needed a leader to step up. And I think that I could do that. I think that's part of my personality. I think I'm a guy that can, rile people together. And I think Dutch believes in that as well. I mean, he had mentioned it last year that I'm an extrovert, and we need extroverts to step up. So, I mean, I'm going to be one of those guys next year that's going to be using my voice and trying to lead the team back to the promised land.
Aztecs guard Miles Byrd with us right now on Jon and Jim. When you first signed Miles with San Diego State, did you envision this? I know you had to play a backseat role your first year when you think about all the veteran guards on that team, but you played a prominent role as a sophomore, and the team reached the Sweet 16 and got all the way to Boston. Did you? I'm sure you hoped for this, but has it exceeded expectations, what you've been a part of the last 2 years?
I mean, of course it's exceeded expectations. Everybody wants to be in a national championship their freshman year, and everybody wants to be able to play in a Sweet 16 anytime in their college career. But I mean, after coming in here and just my first month here, I understood what this program was about, and I understood that that's what we strive for every season. Like, we're not going into the season saying let's just go win Mountain West. We're trying to get to the national championship every year. So as much as it's like yes, I'm very grateful for it, and it's surprising, and anybody who would have told me that my senior year of high school, I'd have been like, no way. I mean, it's not really a surprise to me just because that's the way we approach things.
Real quick, Miles, before you go, I wanted to ask you about some of the younger players on your team, because I probably did that with some of the veteran players a year ago, asked them about yourself and Elijah. But, we saw a lot of Miles Heide this year, obviously, as a forward. We didn't see a ton of BJ Davis, but we know he was highly sought after, obviously, out of high school. You had a redshirted player as well in Magoon Guath. What can Aztec fans expect from some of the younger players that they've only begun to see on the Mesa?
I mean, all three of them are going to be very, very, very good players in the future. BJ, I mean, he might be one of the most exciting guards you get to just watch. Like, some of the moves he does in practice is like moves that only NBA guys you think would be able to do. So he's super skilled. He's a workhorse. He plays super hard, and he plays a lot of defense. So, I mean, that's a guy that you definitely like coming in and playing behind Mont and Darion Tramella's first year. So he's going to be ready to take that step. Magoon and Heide, they've both been working this whole entire time in the off season. I don't even think they took a week off once the season ended. So they've been in the gym, getting straight to work. Heidi's trying to develop a shot. He's working on his three a lot. Magoon's working on strength and, balance in the post. So I think they're a great 1-2 punch for us next year.
Miles, we appreciate it, man. Congratulations on all these successes. We cannot wait, obviously, for the upcoming 24-25 season on the Mesa. You've played such a critical role here over the last 2 years, and we're looking forward to what's to come. But thanks for taking some time for us, and we look forward to doing it again soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, you guys.
All right, great stuff. Miles Byrd.
Miles Byrd is
He's great.
He's great.
He's terrific.
He's great, and being the extrovert that he says he is, great interview.
He
great,
really is.
Great kid, and that bodes well for the leadership qualities that you need, and being the way that he is, that he describes himself as an extrovert. If he can take that next step, it's going to make it even better.
And Aztec fans, take a deep breath. He got some really quality players coming back in 2024-25, including Miles Byrd and his classmate Elijah Saunders. All right, for the first time this year, Mike Shildt fiery post-game.
I guess he loses it post-game.
Wait until you hear what Mike Shildt had to say after a Padres inexplicable loss. They blew a 5-run lead in Denver. That's next. All right, Mark Zeigler will join us at 4, but up next, wait until you hear Mike Shildt post-game fired up as the Padres lose in Denver. That's next. Tonight we've got live coverage of the NFL Draft from Fox Sports Radio that starts at 5 and at 7. Give Nuggets keep the ball picked. San Diego Sports 7. You not Mike Shildt?
I have not heard, but
You've
I've just
intentionally avoided it.
Yes, I can't wait to hear this.
Let's all hear this together. Now, if you missed it, the Padres had a big lead. They lost 10-9, 5-run lead in the 8th.
Collapse.
Wandy Peralta on the mound for 6 runs, scoring not all his responsibility, but on the mound as the Padres blow that large lead. Here was Mike Shildt postgame.
And it looked like
that's a birthday. I mean, look, the guy proved he's human a little bit today. I don't know what you meant to tell you.
I know it was only 15 pitches last night. Just didn't have it today.
Yeah, couldn't put a swing on him, hit a 3-run homer, and the guy's been outstanding for us. And just always hit the ball the other way, and walked to a bar, and a couple walks that inning hurt us, but I don't know what you want me to really tell you. I mean, the guy's been fantastic all year, and just wasn't able to get balls at people, wasn't able to get anybody on the ground.
Was that sort of set up by how much your bullpen did have to cover it, basically, when your starter doesn't get out of the third?
Brito picked up the bulk of it. He got us to the position we'd like to get to, where we're in the 6th-ish, and we can start to use our back pieces. He was fantastic. Kept him right there. Kept us the lead, able to add on, did his part, went out in the 6th, got in a little bit of traffic. Dale was fantastic to punch out the side, went and grabbed his guy in the 7th. Now we're set up where we want to be. And, Yuki went out and finished really quickly, was able to go back out, got his first guy, and then put a ball down the line, probably started the inning off. And, then the walk to Bouchard, and it went from there.
It did seem like for as good as Wandy has been of late, he just didn't really have it from the start today. Why was he left in for 5 batters? Did you consider getting him out of there earlier?
It was obvious to you.
I said it seemed like he didn't really have it earlier today.
Okay. Wandy has about a 60% ground ball rate. Okay. The second a guy gives up a home run, I can't just go take out a guy that's got a microscopic ERA and's got righties out all year. Now, it can be subjective whether he has or not. That can be your opinion. My opinion is I got a veteran guy out there that knows how to get a ball on the ground and is one pitch away from getting a ground ball. So that's what we had. It didn't work out. Things don't work out all the time. I don't know what you would tell you.
No, that's fair.
It's a crazy venue. Crazy things happen here. How much of it is concern versus that's just you just chalk that one up to?
I don't have any concern. I'm going to tell you what, I walked out of this ballpark. There's some agitation because we didn't win the game. But I'm going to tell you what I walk out of this ballpark with. A couple things. A bunch of gamers that showed up without one of our better players in Manning, which, rightfully so. He's having a baby. We had Jackson who, little ouchie, want to stay away from it. We had guys all over the field playing their asses off and going out and stepping up and getting after it every day. A bunch of gamers stepping up all across the board. And I'm going to tell you what, I'll run Wandy Peralta out there any and every day in the 8th inning with the lead. Okay, it doesn't work sometimes. But I can tell you what, this group, outside of the result at the end of the day, the heart and the competitive spirit and those guys getting after everything they've got, it doesn't work out every time. But I'll take this group any day of the week because I got a bunch of winning gamers. Take that over the long haul.
Is a part of the agitation, Mike. You did get a couple homers. Eggy lays down a sacrifice bunt. You guys are doing the productive out thing. Daniel De Los Santos was incredible. Is that a part of it, that it was such a good game?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, listen, but we're not going to pin it on anybody. We're just we played great baseball. Again, guys fought their tails off. Guys did a lot of right things very well. Came in here and just competed in the middle of the back end of a 13 game in a row, and you're on the road in a tough place to play from a physical standpoint, and these guys laid it all out there. It just didn't work out.
How is Jackson? What do you expect?
Day to day, I haven't heard anything beyond that.
But precautionary is the term.
Very precautionary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say this. That was amazing. That was amazing.
Little
sound.
ouchie for Jackson.
That was incredible. But the one thing, I'm all for him backing his club. But when you go to the nth degree and pretend like it was the greatest team effort, we got this great group and I'm with them. We got great spirit and great fight. You lost the Rockies. You blew a 5-run lead. Just say that. Sometimes, and I agree with this idea that Peralta's been really good. If you're going to go down with good. I'm all for that. Mm-hmm. But, to pretend like this was this great, amazing team performance and they got the heart of a lion. You split with the Rockies. At the end of the day, you split with the Rockies.
He is Mr. Participation Trophy. It gets to that point where you're like, bro, Mike, I kind of know why you're upset. You're upset because you're mad at yourself. You're probably mad at yourself at the end of the day for maybe not making a different type of move there and maybe pulling Wandy, quicker or leaving in De Los Santos instead of taking him out. You're mad at yourself and it feels like you're taking that on everyone else for being asked a legitimate question.
Great question by Dennis. Why did he get 5 batters?
Right.
3's a requirement.
Yes.
He's not going anywhere after the home run. It's 9-7. He's not going anywhere. That's fine. The next 2 reach. Now, the issue in that spot is you can't go to your closer with 1 out in the 8th.
No, you can't.
I don't think you're going to do that to a closer.
And you have now used your top 3 guys before.
So you're out of weapons.
You're out of weapons. And that's what kind of my point was to start the show when this whole collapse happened is like, I don't know what you want Mike Shildt to do. Maybe switch some things up there. Okay. But Mike, bro, you guys lost a game that you should have won. You split with the worst team in baseball. You had an epic collapse today. I get that you're upset, but can we stop with this team is great and it's awesome and it's amazing. You're 500. There's problems and holes on this team. When guys mess up, it feels like they can do no wrong. When a guy doesn't have his foot on the bag, it's not his fault. When a guy does a pop-up slide at second, that is an automatic out. It's not guy's fault. Okay. When a guy is left out there to give up the lead, it's not his fault. At what point is it going to be like, yeah, maybe I should have done something better, or we need to be better in that situation. It's not a bad thing, Mike, if you tell everybody that, hey, we're trying to do something and accomplish something this year, and these losses hurt us. We need to be better. We're going to wipe this off. We're going to go home, hopefully play some good baseball versus the Phillies. I trust our guys because they've been good all year. Today was not a good day, but we move forward. Instead, it was like he got really defensive there towards the questioning from Dennis.
Which is completely reasonable question. They asked nothing wrong. Actually, they asked everything right. A lot of times you don't get that line of questioning. It was the right line of questioning. He's clearly very defensive. Listen, he's going to back the Padres to the nth degree, as far as any manager can back a team, which means he won't even like being asked something that could potentially be perceived as negative in tone, but that's their job.
Mm-hmm.
That's their job. We are completely up against it.
Yeah.
We have Mark Zeigler on their side. I'm going to do this anyway. Can we sneak in, Dave, 60 seconds? Can we or not? 60 seconds, Dave. That's all we got. We have Mark Zeigler on the other side, but I want to react to this. Dave, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Well, 60 seconds. Let me just put it this way, guys. It doesn't take rocket scientists to figure all this out. So, kudos to everything you said. Look, there's a term in sports called chargering. And I am now ready to put a term in sports called padreing. And that's basically what happened today. You just had a team that invented new ways to lose. And we've talked about so many other different things relative to this same capacity or incapacity that this franchise has at this point. It is not ready for prime time yet. Whether they will or not, who knows? Heard Shildt's comments. Well, that's what, like you said, Jon, that's the manager's going to do. But they did a padre today. That's what it was.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I mean, this will hurt. This could hurt. We'll see how they react come this weekend against the Phillies. Mark Zeigler on Lamont Butler putting his name in the portal. What's next for the Aztecs on the other side? Plus further reaction to Mike Shildt's postgame comments after a really tough loss for the Padres today in Denver. That's next.
Little ouchie.
All right, this update is brought to you by Dell Technologies. Padres had a 9-4 lead in the 8th inning, and it's gone. They lost 10-9 today. They ended up splitting the series with the Rockies, the worst team in the National League. They return home tomorrow to take on the Philadelphia Phillies for a 3-game series. Moving over to college basketball news in the Aztecs, Lamont Butler announced on his Instagram page last night that he has entered the transfer portal while also maintaining the possibility of returning to San Diego State. And the NFL draft is tonight, 5 p.m. is when it starts. You can listen to our draft coverage right here on San Diego Sports 760, starting at 5 p.m. live from Detroit. Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technologies can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We'll take it to 5 p.m. tonight because the first round of the NFL draft will begin then, right here on San Diego Sports 760. Be listening. We'll continue to react to the Padres' loss in Denver today as well. But we're also discussing San Diego State basketball. It's been busy, to put it lightly, this offseason. It's just that way in college hoops. And Mark Zeigler, who covers the Aztecs for the Union Tribune, back with us on Jon and Jim. Mark, love your writing and reporting as you've been covering the news that Lamont Butler has entered the transfer portal. Now, you spoke with Lamont and his father. In your speaking with them and in what you've written, what was the primary motivation here for Lamont to potentially or likely pursue other opportunities?
I mean, the words they used was business decision, and they talked about, and they, I give them credit. They were really open and candid. Didn't try to hide behind anything. Didn't try to hide behind, pretend like what they said last year. They didn't say. I mean, last year they said, not all money is good money, and we're going to take less to stay here. We love it here. Lamont loves it here. And this year he said, we're not going to sacrifice. We sacrificed last year. We're not going to sacrifice this year. And, I think the problem here is that the transfer portal is so unregulated that all you do is you hear things from third, fourth, fifth parties, fifth-hand parties who are associated with the school and say, oh, yeah, if you come here, we'll get you this amount. And I think they kind of started hearing these numbers and they were huge, and they just felt like, maybe they're worth pursuing, but we really need to get in the portal so they can put their money where their mouth is. And I think that's what this is about. They just kind of came to the conclusion that they are interested in maybe pursuing this, but they're never going to know, never be able to get anything in writing, never be able to go visit a school and actually see what it's like unless they get in the portal. And so I think they did that, and maybe out of respect a little bit to Coach Brian Dutcher, they did it sooner rather than later. I mean, he could have hopped in the portal next week right before the deadline, and that might have screwed San Diego State a little bit, because I think there are some guys out there who would like to come, possibly San Diego State, if Lamont Butler leaves and opens that spot, but aren't in the portal right now. They need some lead time before that deadline next Wednesday.
I know the very last line of his announcement last night was left open for a possible return, saying that, he's entered the transfer portal with the possibility of returning to San Diego State, but any real shot of that actually happening here, or is this pretty much like a foregone, like he's transferring, he's going to be gone?
I mean, from talking to him last night, I would say no. I would think he used the word slight, and I think that's pretty fair. But, look, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the indication was that I'd heard from people that he kind of said, I'd like to stay unless I turn pro. And all indications were that he was going to stay. And I think that the team was kind of operating under that impression. So things changed quickly in this market. And maybe he starts talking to schools and he finds out, you know what, they're only going to offer him $200,000, $300,000, and he can make that here. And he quickly comes back to Dutch and says, no, I'm staying. Or maybe he wakes up today and just says, I can't do it. I love the school too much. I don't want to tarnish or jeopardize my legacy. I'm coming back. So I think anything's possible, but just from the sounds of it last night, did not sound like this is somebody who's really entertaining the possibility of returning.
Mark Zeigler from the Union Tribune with us right now, Jon and Jim. So what I find, you tell me about the roster construction, Mark, because they acquired via the portal Nick Boyd, who is a point guard, and they have a freshman guard that will become a sophomore, obviously, in BJ Davis. So if Lamont moves on and they have that open scholarship, what type of guard are they seeking? Is it a point guard? Is it an off-ball shooting guard? What type of player may they be interested in your opinion?
My sense is it would be a shooter, and maybe it's going to be a younger player who might be willing to come off the bench, because they're going to have a little bit of a logjam. You start looking at potential starting lineups. I think Nick Boyd is someone they're planning on starting, given his skill set, given his experience, given his leadership skills. And so you put him in there, and then you look, and you've got Reese Waters, who, look, when he was starting, was really good last year for the most part. Got hurt. They went to the bench and then really struggled. And I think that the thought is, if they can get him back to what he was, particularly like, remember the Gonzaga game, and he was the best player on the floor for either team that night. He's a starter. And I think, Miles Byrd has kind of earned the right to maybe start if he continues to progress. So do you bring in another guy who's going to challenge those guys and maybe knock one of them out of the starting lineup? Or do you bring in more of a supporting player who can come off the bench and run the point, play some defense, and then develop into that point guard or starter the following year, maybe. And so I think that's kind of the direction they'll go. But I think shooting is going to be a huge priority for that position, because that's just something more they need.
What's their search like going? What's their search going like for a big man right now?
I think they'll have a decision here pretty quick. They had two guys come in this week, Marty Sissoko from Michigan State. He came in early in the week, and then Jared Coleman-Jones from Middle Tennessee just left. He was here for the last couple of days. And it's interesting because they're really kind of two different players. Sissoko is much more of a defensive-oriented, more of what we've seen out of San Diego State centers, like the Nathan Mensah type, big, space-eating, defensive-minded, shot-blocking, big. And I've been watching some film of Coleman Jones, and I'm telling you, this guy is really exciting. He's not known as a defender, and so the challenge is, can they turn him into a defender in 3 to 6 months? But offensively, I have not seen a guy his size with these kind of skills in a while. I mean, he's handling the ball. He's 44% shooter from three. He's spinning. He's spinning baseline and dunking on the opposite side of the basket. He's got right hand, left-handed jump hooks. He can pivot with both feet. I mean, it's a really, really impressive skill set. Really kind of an under-the-radar guy who a lot of some ACC schools, Big 12 schools, Big 10 schools have started to become interested in, probably because they're watching that film and going, oh, wait, why did we miss this guy? And so I'd be interested to see which guy ends up at San Diego State, but I think there's a good chance it'll be one of those two.
Mark Zeigler with us right now on Jon and Jim. This is like the maybe more than $1 million question in this collective era. But would you expect the remainder of the current roster to remain intact? And that's a difficult one. But I mean, as we hit portal, the portal closing, so to speak, like you said, next Wednesday, what's your expectation with the players that played for the Aztecs a year ago that aren't currently in the portal?
I think maybe you might see maybe one more guy at the end of the bench jump. Maybe when they see some of these players that they've acquired and they start doing the math, say, man, they just brought in a veteran player at my position. Oh, this guy's pretty good. I'm never going to see the floor. Maybe I better move. But I would not expect any of the other guys. Reese Waters seems pretty solidly committed. I think Miles Byrd and Elijah Saunders are committed. And then the rest of the guys are already incoming freshmen. And two guys really to keep an eye on next year that, a lot of people I think have just forgotten about because there's so much talk of the portal and who's staying, who's going, who's coming back, are Taj DeGorville, 6'5" guard, and both guys out of Las Vegas, and Farrell Compton. And both are really exciting players. I mean, Taj DeGorville played at the highest levels, played when he was at Wasatch, played against the best freshmen in the country and held his own, and showed himself to be a real versatile guard at 6'5", big, strong guy. He's got a college-ready body. And Farrell Compton is a special talent. I mean, he's 6'8", maybe not even 6'8", but he's got really, really long arms and plays like he's 6'10", blocks shots, runs the floor with a hugely high motor and rebounds everything. Almost, I don't want to compare him to JT Toppin from New Mexico, the freshman year of the Mountain West, but kind of a little bit similar skill set and mentality, and could have that kind of impact for them next year. We'll see how they transition to the college level. And they're going to be younger players, but they're exciting players. And I think I think the staff, when they're putting together a roster, understands they've got some talent coming. And then we obviously Magoon Guelph is the other one that everyone's starting to realize is going to be a big factor next year as well. So I think they just don't want to stifle some of that talent that's coming from below.
Back to Lamont real quick here. Where do you think he goes? Is there somewhere that you think that he could be heading? Would you have a front runner for a school if he does stay in the transfer portal and go somewhere?
I have not heard any names yet. I asked them last night, and it's too early in the process. They said they were contacted by about a dozen schools through third parties, and actually the 10th and 7th parties. And these people are really, they're not coaches, and they were very careful not to talk to anybody from school or have any coaches on the line when they spoke with them. But I think there will be more. And I think it's probably too early to tell. But I said, what kind of school do you want? What kind of program do you want? And he said, I want a high level. I want a big stage, but I also want I want a winning program, but I also want somewhere I can really feel like I can showcase my skills to the NBA, because that's his ultimate goal. And so, there's a lot of schools that in power conferences that kind of fit that bill. So I suspect he'll go to a power conference. Whether he stays out west, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if someone like Eric Musselman at USC comes after him. He's come after pretty much everybody else in the transfer portal and landed a whole bunch of them. But I don't know if that's the right fit or not, but I think we'll know pretty quick. I think they'll probably start scheduling some visits, and it sounded like they want to get this thing moving and maybe wrap it up as soon as the first or second week of May. So that's, 2-3 weeks down the road.
Wouldn't that be interesting with the dynamic, of course, that played out 2 seasons ago, right? Between Arkansas and San Diego State and Maui. We were there for it, where Lamont, had a couple of plays that were costly for San Diego State late, when Arkansas stormed back and won that game in overtime, right? That was just 2 seasons ago. Mark, before you go, any update on this NIL tournament? Is it happening?
I think it's moving along and moving forward, and I think San Diego State is really committed to it.
Okay.
And I think the issue is what we've always talked about, the issue being with other schools having made some commitments to non-conference tournaments for next season and trying to get out of them or trying to figure out a way to do both. But from my understanding, San Diego State is committed, whether it's a full-fledged, bracketed tournament or it's just, 2 or 3 games against big-time schools in Las Vegas. They're all in, and that will only help the NIL war chest that they've started to amass, and I think and beyond that, I mean, there's a money component. But I think it's also the chance to play. If you look at it, a chance to play some really high-profile teams in a city where they have a lot of success, and you don't have to travel. Usually, if you're going to play these teams from the Midwest and the East Coast, you're going to have to go to the East Coast. You're going to have to go to the Bahamas. But for them to go to Vegas and play in a city where they win all the time, they know it. Fans can get there. They'll have the most fans probably of anybody. That's a pretty good deal for them beyond any kind of monetary windfall. And so I think they're looking at that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an amazing scene. To your point, some of these rumored schools are like the Dukes and the Kansases and the Kentuckys and the North Carolinas. If San Diego State's a part of that field, like you said, in the West, could be really desirable. Mark, it doesn't end, and I don't know if it will between now and when the portal closes. I'm sure there'll be a lot to discuss. So thank you for doing it as always, and we hope to do it again soon.
Yeah, just to keep your eye out. There might be some news here in the next day or two. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, all right. I like that. Okay, we like that. That's good. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so there could be some news the next day or two. You asked about, well, we know this. He said it. He wrote about it. They had multiple big men visit this week. One of them we talked about, I think I asked John Fanta about, Amadi Sissoko, Michigan State, known as a defender. And then Jared Coleman-Jones. You just heard Mark Zeigler really glowingly speak about his offensive skill set, a really unique skill set for a 6'10 center that can shoot it, has had a lot of effectiveness around the rim. So a couple of names that were on campus within the last 48 or 72 hours at San Diego State. Let's get back to these Padres because we haven't really fully unpacked what Mike Shildt said at postgame. It's as much about Shildt postgame as it is about losing a 5-run lead in the 8th inning, I would say, an hour out from this loss.
Yeah, I would say so. He used his best guys today. All right. He used De Los Santos.
Other than Suarez,
but we know why. No one's sitting here saying, why didn't you go to Suarez with 5 outs left in the game?
Correct.
So that's kind of out of the picture there. But De Los Santos, Yuki,
and Wandy.
All right. Your 3 top guys. They've been fantastic all year long. Use those 3 guys. It burned them. They did not have good games besides De Los Santos. Yuki started out good, but then got a little wobbly there and had to get taken out of the game. Wandy came in and imploded. Wandy's been great for this team all season long. Faced 5 batters, ended up giving up 5 total earned runs. And you could argue, why didn't you maybe leave De Los Santos in for longer? Why didn't you take out Wandy Peralta?
Is it Monday morning quarterbacking, which was Mike Shilt's point?
You could go Monday morning quarterbacking with it, because who do they have besides Robert Suarez that you feel super uber confident about?
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking about now, with the benefit of hindsight, the only thing I'm thinking about in that 8th inning is, does Matsui get another batter? There are 2 on and 1 out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to give Matsui another batter before you go to Peralta? But then again, this is why you have Wandy Peralta to pitch the rest of the 8th inning to bridge to Suarez. Suarez. I'm on Team Shildt in terms of the way he used it as I walk through it in my head. I'm not in full agreement with what he told Kevin and Dennis and maybe one other media member postgame in terms of how defensive he was.
Yeah.
I think what he said is actually, I think it's fair to say, sometimes you make the right move and sometimes you have the right reliever on the mound, and they're human beings. He didn't say that, but it is true. Even guys with 2 ERAs can go 8 straight outings that are scoreless and then give up 2 or 3 runs.
Anytime a manager gets that defensive and kind of almost gets
too defensive,
like a beyond defensive with a reporter asking a very legitimate question that I'm sure a lot of other reporters would have asked, is not just Dennis. And Dennis is a fantastic reporter. So, okay. But to go that far and kind of almost like talk down everybody and have this definitive stance of what it feels like, and I put out on Twitter, like, nobody can do any wrong here. I'm always going to have their back, and you can't ask me a question about a guy having a bad game, because these guys have performed all year long. They're gamers.
There's no group I'd rather go to.
Right. There's no group I'd rather be with than this group right now.
I mean, are you being honest when you say something like that? You almost have to ask yourself, if he was managing the Oakland A's, would he not say the same thing? Because when I hear such a defense, we're 20 games into the year, and this is your team's 500. At some point, we say this is like this is a Wendy's, or like you do this whole passionate speech, and then you look at the crowd. There's 2 people in the crowd. Guys, you're 14-14. It's Major League Baseball. It might be the greatest group of people in the history of the world. It's a business of winning. You just lost to the Rockies. Mm-hmm. So maybe this, where I appreciate that argument or that impassioned speech is when you lose game 5 of the NLDS.
Yeah.
Say, you know what? This was the group that I had hoped we would have, and we did everything we possibly did. Exceeded expectations. I went down with the group I wanted to go down with.
You're 14-14. You're not a proven baseball team yet. We don't even know if you're going to make the postseason.
They've done some good things. They've had a day like today.
Yeah. So both things can be true. I don't think people should be crucifying Shildt for the moves that he made or didn't make in this game. You could argue both ways. You could argue he should have taken out Wandy Peralta or had someone up in the bullpen. The second he gave up that home run, kind of, thinking there, he probably doesn't have it. So let me get someone up in the bullpen ready to go in case he allows another runner. And then you can also make the argument of look, who would you rather have had in that game in that situation? A guy that has a sub 1 ERA or the Rule 5 guy that came in? What would you have done there? So again,
your starter went 2 innings,
and Brito covered the slack and covered the few innings there. So I don't think this was an egregious managed game by Mike Shildt at all. I don't. When you're using your best guys, I've always said this. if you're going to go down with your best guys, then you're going down with your best guys. I'll live with that. That's fine.
Basically what happened.
And that's basically kind of what happened. But it's the after the game stuff that this isn't the first time. And I referred to it in the first hour of like the game after Campisano didn't have his foot on the bag. Wasn't his fault. The day that Tatis had the pop-up slide at second, he would take that 10 out of 10 times. Well, guess what? That's 10 straight outs, Mike. The time that the ball got flown out of Ha-Seong Kim's glove wasn't his fault. You know, the time today when your bullpen blew it wasn't their fault. I'm not about a participation trophy here, Mike. I'm not about guys that are great. And like, that's cool. We all like these players, but when they mess up, they got to be better. And I feel like at times you're kind of giving these guys passes publicly to just, but to stand behind them no matter what. And some people could view it as a great thing. That's awesome. I just am like, you're in a position this year where you got to win and you're 14-14.
But I would say one thing, and I'll say it on the other side. I'll make the opposite argument. I'll defend Mike Shildt from the argument you just made in a moment. And I'll use something from Eric Hosmer's podcast from earlier this week. Plus, if you miss what Mike Shildt had to say, we'll play a portion of that back for you. NFL Draft coming up at 5 p.m. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate with an argument that Jim just made. Plus, if you missed a fiery post-game Mike Shildt, you'll hear it again up next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Dell Technologies. Padres ended up losing to the Rockies today, 10-9. They had a 9-4 lead in the 8th inning, gave up 6 runs. They lose 10-9, splitting the 4-game series with the Rockies. They return home tomorrow to take on the Philadelphia Phillies for a 3-game series. Last night, Lamont Butler on his Instagram page announced that he is entering the transfer portal with the option to return to San Diego State for the following season. And the NFL draft starts in about 30 minutes from now. Our NFL draft coverage starts at 5. You can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technology can do. So great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to now.
Just said it. Coming up tonight, live coverage, NFL Draft, Fox Sports Radio, starting at 5, then at 7. Game 3, Lakers Nuggets. Must win for the Lakers. Keep it locked to San Diego Sports 760. So the argument you were just making is one I buy. This idea that why not just tell me if I'm being wrong here? Just this idea, why not just be a little more honest and credible with the media post game?
Well,
Not so far in on this is the greatest group in the history of baseball, and let me tell you why.
Well, you made a great point, John, that if this was game 5 of the NLCS,
Great, you should say that.
like,
And you lost, it's fine.
like running through a wall
Yes,
for you, dude.
all for it. But hear me out.
You're
Just-
14-14,
yeah, like
and maybe if you were 20-4, it would be more like
yeah,
you
this
could buy it more.
Yeah, like don't tell me about this loss or 20-4.
Yeah.
Like give it. I get that.
Because at the end of the day, Mike, this loss potentially, and I don't know, hope it doesn't,
That's the end
potentially
of the season.
could hurt you down the road. You know, I know it's just one loss in April, but we were saying the same thing last year, one loss in April, and guess what happened? They missed out by 2 games.
Let me
So,
just
like,
say this.
that's okay, go.
But here's my point. So Jim makes this argument, and I buy it. But then I hear Eric Hosmer Long Ball podcast with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jerkson Profar. And guess what they were saying in this podcast that they're still bringing up a half decade later from 2020. People talk
heaters.
No, maybe. People talk about Hosmer and Tatis in the dugout. After Tatis broke the unwritten rules, swung 3-0 in Texas, and everyone said, oh, Hosmer was giving him a learning lesson. And they joked, they laughed it off saying, nah, we were just talking baseball. People made that out to be a big deal. We were just talking baseball, unlike our former manager. 4 years later, they outed Jace Tingler because Tingler said to the media that night, it's a learning lesson. That has stuck with them 4 years later.
And I agree with you. That was a bad situation when Chase Tingler, like straight up called out Fernando Tatis Jr. postgame.
But that's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying it's safer that,
but it's a fine line when you say, you know what, Wandy Peralta's got to be better. When you got to say Kimmy's got to field that ball.
I can say that. You can say that. What Mike Shildt can say, which is totally acceptable, and I don't think it's going to burn any bridges to where people remember it 5 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, Wandy's been great this season. He had a blow up today. It was his worst outing of the year.
Yeah.
But when you're asked a legitimate question about, hey, was there any thought in there about taking him out earlier when you kind of saw he didn't have it there? Yeah, he could have gone in the route of saying, well, look, Wandy's been great for us all season long. Everyone's bound to have bad games. Today was not his best game, but we still believe in Wandy 100%. This doesn't change our feeling on Wandy. He's still going to be out there in close games. He just had a bad game today. We have to move on. It wasn't a great day, but we move on. We focus on Philly this weekend, and we know he'll be better next time.
So you're saying be less defensive, make more of the argument, and don't solely be in the corner of your player against all costs.
Is that not what I just said? Also in the corner of your player?
It is.
Like, we believe in you 100%, and that doesn't waver our confidence in you at all?
It is. Brent, what do you have?
What stuck out to me was just, it is what it is. They blew a 5-run lead in the 8th. It sucks. It is what it is. But it's almost like he was offended that he went into post expecting that they weren't going to ask any questions about it. They're just going to come in and be like, so on to the Phillies. Right. And it's just and then when Dennis and them asked questions about them, blowing the lead, he just got all offensive. Like, he was expecting them not to bring it up. He was expecting them not to, don't even talk about, what are you talking about? I didn't think you were good. It says, why are you offended? He should have gone in there just being like, all right, let's get this over with. I know you guys are going to ask me about this and you're going to overanalyze everything. And instead, he was just offended. Like, he was expecting them not to ask him any questions.
Okay, a couple of things. It sounds like Jim is literally going to explode.
I'm very hungry.
His stomach has been rumbling for 90 minutes. And now it's at the point where it's like louder than anything I've ever heard in the studio. It's like louder than your voice.
It is. It's making a lot of noises.
So it has to be on air. It has to be. You have to hear that.
Jim, does your belly?
Little ouchie?
Little ouchie.
Can you put your stomach up to the mic?
Yeah. By the way, this is a very weird visual on YouTube.
A little bit, but do it. Did you hear that, Brent?
No.
Okay. Let's hear from Mike Shildt. Again, we're going to fast forward to the part where it gets good. Dennis Lynn has a very fair question. Basically, Wandy Peralta faced 5 batters, blew the lead. We know there's a 3-batter minimum. He couldn't leave after allowing a home run, which is what he did to the first batter he faced. But he could have left after either 3 or 4 batters with a lead. Here's Dennis Lynn and Mike Shildt postgame.
Like, for as good as Wandy has been of late, he just didn't really have it from the start today. Why was he left in for 5 batters? Did you consider getting him out of there earlier?
It was obvious to you?
I said it seemed like he didn't really have it earlier today.
Okay. Wandy has about a 60% ground ball rate. Okay. The second a guy gives up a home run, I can't just go take out a guy that's got a microscopic ERA and's got righties out all year. Now, it can be subjective whether he has or not. That can be your opinion. My opinion is I got a veteran guy out there that knows how to get a ball on the ground and is one pitch away from getting a ground ball. So that's what we had. It didn't work out. Things don't work out all the time. I don't know what you would tell you.
Oh, that's fair.
It's a crazy venue. Crazy things happen here. How much of it is concern versus that's just you just chalk that one up to?
I don't have any concern. I'm going to tell you what I walked out of this ballpark. There's some agitation because we didn't win the game. But I'm going to tell you what I walk out of this ballpark with. A couple things. A bunch of gamers that showed up without one of our better players in Manning, which, rightfully so. He's having a baby. We had Jackson who, little ouchie, want to stay away from it. We had guys all over the field playing their asses off and going out and stepping up and getting after it every day. A bunch of gamers stepping up all across the board. And I'm going to tell you what, I'll run Wandy Peralta out there any and every day in the 8th inning with the lead. Okay, it doesn't work sometimes, but I can tell you what, this group, outside of the result at the end of the day, the heart and the competitive spirit and those guys getting after everything they've got, it doesn't work out every time. But I'll take this group any day of the week because I got a bunch of winning gamers. Take that over the long haul.
Is a part of the agitation. Mike, you did get a couple homers. Eggy lays down the sacrifice bunt. You guys are doing the productive out thing. Daniel De Los Santos was incredible. Is that a part of it, that it was such a good game?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, listen, but I mean, we're not going to pin it on anybody. We're just going to – we played great baseball. Again, guys fought their tails off. Guys did a lot of right things very well. Came in here and just competed in the middle of the back end of a 13 game in a row, and you're on the road in a tough place to play from a physical standpoint, and these guys laid it all out there. It just didn't work out.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? I mean, other than the result, we got a bunch of gamers out there.
Yeah, other than the fact that we lost the game.
Well, and it wasn't, if it was one game in the series and they won the other 3, okay. Yeah. Wasted opportunity, but you won a series. You were 2 games over 500 in the series. That's not what happened. They split a series against a team that came in 5-17. That's the factual part of it that we're omitting that in this. We got a bunch of winning gamers, and I'm going to go to battle with this group every single day. They were 5-17.
I see a lot of this on social media. Mike Shilt's my kind of manager. I would run through a wall for Mike Shildt.
I tweeted that.
Mike Shildt, man, what a guy. I want to play for him. We've never seen this from any Padres manager before.
That's okay, because if you try to run through the wall and you failed, he'll go, it's okay. You don't need to run through the wall. You tried.
I'd give my heart and soul for Mike Shildt as a manager because of his
outburst. People really saying that?
Read the text line.
You want to see it? Yeah. I mean, it's out there.
You know how it is, Jim. And
it's a fan.
Guess what? If this team, there's 2 ways this goes. He's back for a second year because it's a good first year, or he's not back for a second year because they don't get to where they need to get to.
The only thing that matters
is the wins and losses.
They're 14-14. They had an opportunity to take a 4-game series from the worst team in the National League today.
Yeah, would have been
They
great.
effed it up. They come home with the split. They're back to 500, and now they play a very tough stretch of baseball games for the next month plus, pretty much.
Yep.
And you got to play good baseball.
It kind of reminded me of in college basketball when, like, after the game, they'll be like, hey, we played great for 38 minutes.
But the 2 minutes that you lost the game
exactly.
in.
So, he's proves, hey, we played great for 7 1/3 inning.
That's a great point.
But it's 9 innings. You got to finish the game.
Same thing in football. Man, we played great for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Even though the 4th quarter we gave 21 straight points, we lost. Like, what?
All right, we continue to react. We can get to some texts of yours on the other side. Plus, we've got live coverage of the first round of the NFL draft at 5 p.m. and then Lakers Nuggets at 7 p.m. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760.
Little ouchie.
All right, so I've been telling you for the last 30 minutes how Jim's stomach has been rumbling for 90 minutes. Why?
I need almonds.
Because you need packs of Almond RX. You can eliminate the vending machine from your day. You can avoid hunger. You can curb it at least. And you can get your daily dose of vitamin D and an immunity booster with Almond RX. Everyone loves a healthy snack for their family. But it's more than just healthy. It's tasty. It curbs hunger. Look no further than Almond RX, the first and only skinless almond that's fortified with vitamin D and is an immunity booster. You get your daily serving of 23 almonds. This company was founded by a San Diego sports medicine physician, and a very good one. It's packed with nutrients. I'm talking about supporting your heart, cellular, and gut health. You can find Almond RX at any Foodland right here in San Diego, Harvest Ranch in Encinitas in North County, or at almondrx.com, ALMONDRX.com. Go there right now. You'll get free shipping on all orders of $25 or more. Again, free shipping at almondrx.com. Almond RX curbs hunger and is perfect for the on-the-go lifestyle. NFL draft coverage coming up in about 2 minutes. We have a breaking news item out of the transfer portal for San Diego State, a player that Mark Zeigler just talked to us about. Jared Coleman Jones, Middle Tennessee State transfer forward or center. He's 6'10", but he's got an amazing offensive skill set. 44% from three last year, really good post player and passer. Jared Coleman Jones has committed to San Diego State. So a day after Lamont Butler enters the portal, they land the big man they were after. They had two on campus. They got one of them. Jared Coleman Jones is on campus this week. Madi Sissoko from Michigan State. Sissoko, who's more of a defensive-minded center. This is more of an offensive-minded center. Jared Coleman Jones, you just watched his highlights. He is committed to San Diego State.
He reminds me a little bit of Anthony Davis.
I like it. That sounds great. I like the way you stored that.
I watched 30 seconds of his highlights, and I said, yep, that's Anthony Davis right there. Good. That's good. Very good. They needed a big man, guy that can stretch the floor. When's the last time they had a guy that can stretch the floor at 6'10"?
I wonder, it's interesting you say that. I mean, Jim Powell was like that wiry, what was he, like a wiry 6'9" shooter?
Uh-huh.
Coleman Jones is more of a back to the basket post that can stretch a little bit because he can shoot the three. If you watch these highlights, he's got a really impressive offensive skill set. He's big. He's big bodied.
So here, he's 6'10", 240 pounds. Last year, 44% from three. He didn't take many threes. It was 1944. I think Jalen.
Yeah, he may have. And he shot what, around 40% last year? I made 20 or 25. Yeah.
Overall solid player, 45% from the field, 77% free throw shooter. He averaged 8 rebounds a game. He averaged over a block a game. I mean, you get those exact numbers next year.
Yeah. What did he average? 12 and 8 or 11 and 8? Or
11, 8, and 2.
He's a good passer. What I saw on him. You know me, I'm watching all the highlights before these guys come in. I'm watching Madi Sissoko. I'm watching Jared Coleman Jones. This guy can flat out pass, and he's got a really impressive offensive skill set. Now, again, it's different. He's different than Jalen D. He's different than Jay Powell. He's different than Nathan Mensah. They're all different. But again, here's what you know about Brian Dutcher and his staff. They're looking for something particular, and then they fill it. So there's a reason they're pursuing this player, because they feel as if it works to their needs. They like his skill set. They're not worried about stars, rankings, and ratings, right? Nick Boyd is the player they wanted, right? They don't cast this wide net and go after like 100 players in hopes of landing 10. They go after a handful in hopes of landing a few of those handful. So they're doing work, man. I mean, Nick Boyd, this impressive offensive skill set center, and Jared Coleman Jones. We know they're going to have to replace Lamont Butler in all likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
So you likely have to go get, a wing scorer, right? Some type of scoring guard. You have point guards and Nick Boyd and BJ Davis. But I mean, the work that you're asking them to do, their roster is near complete. Even with Lamont Butler in the portal, it's not like they have, I think they may have one. They now have one open scholarship.
I know everybody wants to have the same players be on this team every single year.
Yep.
That's just not how it works. It's not. It's what makes Brian Dutcher such a great head coach, is that he can, with the turnover that happens in college basketball nowadays, he's keeping these guys for multiple years, and he's building NCAA tournament teams year in and year out. That's what makes Dutch such a good coach. The X's and O's, he's also very good at as well, but keeping a program at the top year in and year out, the way that college basketball is with the transfer portal and the NIL and fitting these guys in and elevating their game. And when Jaden came here, was he an All-American? No,
it's a great point. They develop these players. Now, this will be a 1 year of eligibility situation. COVID senior. But again, I think you give the staff a lot of credit. This isn't a situation where they just settle. No, they find the player they want, and then they land them. They brought Nick Boyd in, they land him. They bring Jared Coleman Jones in, they land him. It's a credit to the staff. We'll see how they finish off the 2024-25 roster. NFL draft, first round coverage on the other side. Then after the first 10 or so picks, we'll get you to Lakers Nuggets coming up at 7 p.m. tonight. If you missed our conversation with Miles Byrd check it out, sportsSD.com or the iHeartRadio app. If you missed anything, you can listen to us on podcast, iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio. Please leave a review as well. Find us on social at Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. For Brett and Jim, I'm John. Round 1 NFL Draft